like having this close to your dreams, and then watch them brush past you like a stranger in a crowd.
Before he was Hollywood steel in a sharkskin suit, Burt Lancaster was a wiry kid from East Harlem who could fly. Born the 2nd of November, 1913, he learned balance on a circus bar long before he learned marks on a soundstage. The lidless intensity, the shoulders that carried whole epics, the sudden, cat-like grace when a scene needed it, all leftovers from the big top. In a town of beautiful talkers, he was a beautiful mover, and when he finally spoke, the voice carried like a ringmaster's. He hit with the Killers in 1946, doomed, hard, magnetic. Audiences saw the jaw, directors saw the range. Film noir, westerns, war pictures, scandals that burned slowly under immaculate tailoring. Lancaster did them all. And then he did something actors weren't supposed to do. He grabbed the pens and the purse strings. With Harold Hecht and later James Hill, he formed the production outfit that would become Hecht, Hill, Lancaster. That banner didn't chase fluff. It bankrolled Marty, 1,955, a small, aching slice of real life that took home Best Picture, and proved you could smuggle humanity into the studio system if you had the muscle. The critics learned his second trick. The smile could be a weapon. In Sweet Smell of Success, he was ice in cufflinks. In Elmer Gantry, he was a revival tent, turned to kindling the performance that won him the Academy Award. He'd be nominated again for Birdman of Alcatraz, and later, older, wiser, for Atlantic City, where the swagger thinned into something tender and rueful. Even The Swimmer, 1,968, that strange odyssey through suburban pools, felt like a dare. Watch a god drown in daylight and try not to look away. But the reel behind the reel? That's where the whispers live. Hollywood in the 40s and 50s had rules carved in concrete. Studios controlled images. Gossip columns carried warning shots. A misplaced glance could become a headline that ended a career. Men loved women in public. Anything else traveled behind curtains, in code, through back doors and beach houses with their blinds drawn against the ocean. Lancaster, the story goes, navigated those corridors with care. He was fearless on camera and careful off. He liked causes, civil rights, union protections, the stubborn proposition that artists are citizens first, and he liked the privacy to live without giving interviews to his soul. What follows lives in that borderland where memory, rumor, and late-life confidences overlap. Biographers and friends tell versions. Historians argue over hard proof. Facts blur into the kind of truth people preserve by never writing it down. Consider this a guided walk through the whisper net of old Hollywood, what's been said, repeated, and resisted, presented with curiosity, caution, and respect. The names the town always hinted at. Cary Grant. If old Hollywood had a mirror, Grant was it precise, polished, the smile that set a standard. Long before hashtags, he was the original is he or isn't he, a question the industry treated like a parlor game with real stakes. Accounts say Lancaster and Grant's circles overlapped at charity galas and studio dinners, where the banter got smarter after midnight and the cars took the long way home down the Pacific Coast Highway. In the lore, their closeness played out in weekends away a quiet house, an ocean that keeps secrets, two megastars negotiating the difference between performance and person. Is any of it documented beyond recollection and suggestion? Not definitively, but the rumor never retired, and in Hollywood, that's its own kind of persistence. Rock Hudson. The studios built him like a monument, tall, square, jawed, safe. Off-screen, he lived with the terror of discovery, and history forced the truth only after he died, when an AIDS diagnosis cracked the facade and rewired a culture's understanding of what closet and courage mean. In the stories told by those who loved both cinema and its shadows, Lancaster and Hudson connected in the early 50 seconds, stealing time in desert towns and roadside diners that looked the other way. One version of the tale says Hudson laughed louder away from Los Angeles, and Burt, ever the protector on set, became a soft place to land in a world that offered no gentle options. Again, reminiscences, not receipts. What rings true is the logic of it: two men built for screens, trying to be human off of them. Marlon Brando. If Lancaster was discipline and drive, Brando was eruption. The gossip likes opposites, and the Brando-Lancaster thread is the one it tells with a grin. Political fundraisers that turned into debates, debates that turned into dare, you smiles, smiles that turned into something no columnist could print. People who swear they were close enough to hear the heat insist the chemistry was volcanic. Two alpha performers pushing and pulling in ways that might have been rivalry, might have been romance, probably were both. The concrete facts are few, the chemistry on screen and in photographs is not. Ricky Nelson, the most fragile rumor. A teen idol in the shadow of Ozzie and Harriet, wanting to be a man who played music and meant it, not a boy who posed for it. The tale paints Lancaster as a mentor with a tender streak, careful not to consume what he could guide. Skeptics raise eyebrows. True believers point to the pattern of older stars sheltering younger ones from the machine. The paper trail is smoke, but smoke has sources. And then there's Washington. One of the strangest stories attaches Lancaster's orbit to J. Edgar Hoover, a figure who monitored Hollywood from across the Potomac with a filing cabinet for a heart. Here, myth crowds history. Hoover never married. His closeness with Clyde Tolson became its own American riddle. Some late-life anecdotes place Lancaster and Hoover in the same rooms, charity galas, embassy parties where power and glamour ran on a closed circuit. Beyond that, the rest belongs to the land of apocrypha, the kind people repeat precisely because it can't be proved. Treat it like folklore. It tells you less about Lancaster than about how the town imagined Hoover, a man of rules dreaming of breaking one. A necessary pause. None of these accounts has the clean edge of a document stamped and filed. Hollywood's closet ran on plausible deniability, studio muscle, and personal caution. The gossip likes opposites, and the Brando-Lancaster thread is the one it tells with a grin. Political fundraisers that turned into debates, debates that turned into dare, you smiles, smiles that turned into something no columnist could print. People who swear they were close enough to hear the heat insist the chemistry was volcanic. Two alpha performers pushing and pulling in ways that might have been rivalry, might have been romance, probably were both. The public man, power, craft, and a conscience with a megaphone. If the private rumors describe a man testing the limits of his time, the public record shows one who pushed the limits of his medium. Lancaster wasn't content to be a marquee. He wanted to choose stories that mattered. Pictures with splinters, Marty's shy butcher, separate tables, quiet honesty. That blistering smile weaponized in sweet smell of success. The tent revival fireworks of Elmer Gantry, which won him his Oscar. The caged bird humanity of Birdman of Alcatraz, a nomination, not a win, but a marker of how deeply he could inhabit a man's better angels without sanding down his sins. And, late in the game, Atlantic City, where he turned the wreckage of an aging hustler into grace notes. Offset, he lent his name to the fights he believed in. Civil rights, voting rights, union power. He and Norma Anderson, his second wife, sharp, dedicated, relentless, printed flyers at home and opened their doors to organizers. Fundraisers, letters, phone trees that look quaint now and moved mountains then. He could be glamorous on the carpet and granular in the trenches. The paradox suited him, the women, the work, and the weather of a life. The marriages trace a map from sawdust to spotlight. June Ernst, a trapeze artist, shared his air first. Those years in the circus were a template. Trust in your partner or fall. Depending on which biography you favor, that marriage ended around 1940 or later, depending on how the paperwork and the public face lagged behind the truth. Dates blur. The pattern holds. He left the big top with more than calluses. He left with poise. Norma brought politics into the living room and children into the frame. Bill, James, Susan, Joanna, Sile, Sheila, and a sense that the living mattered as much as the making. Their house turned into an engine for causes. Their marriage buckled under the standard weight of ambition, absences, and two strong wills. Separated by 1966, divorced in 1969, but forever linked by the work they did and the people they raised. In between came a period the town remembers in sharp fragments, a romance with fire in it, hair trigger parties, wine bottles and apologies, through which you glimpse a star trying to be held and failing in public. Old friends say he needed a force who could meet his intensity. Sometimes he found drama instead. Susan Martin arrived late, quiet, steady. They married in 1990, and she walked him through the narrow alleys of the last years. Health scares, soft light, retrospectives, rooms where the applause sounds like rain on a roof. The 20th of October 1994, Century City. A third heart attack, 4:50 a.m., no funeral, no speeches over velvet ropes, cremation. Westwood Memorial Park, a quiet oak, a simple plaque. Burt Lancaster, 1913, 1994. It tracks. The man who made grand entrances preferred a clean exit. What remains is film that doesn't blink and a fog of stories that refuses to clear. Maybe that's right. Maybe the past keeps its best rooms locked not to tease us, but to teach us humility, to remind us that stars were people first, with the same messy needs and the same fear of being swallowed by someone else's headline. So we hold the contradictions, a public crusader and a private keeper of doors, a producer who picked conscience over comfort, and an actor who could make sin look seductive and then make you ashamed you fell for it. A rumored lover who, whether the specifics are fact or faithful fiction, clearly knew the language of discretion in a danger-filled dialect. In the end, the circus kid learned the oldest trick. You don't survive the high wire by looking down. You survive by feeling where the line is and respecting it. Burt Lancaster did that on screen, stride after stride. Off-screen, if the whispers have their way, he did it too, walking the line between truth and survival, intimacy and image, until the camera cut and the crowds went home.